Local 2 is kind of a weird local because it's a national local. At that time they had around 10,000 members. When they decided to take on Justice for Janitors, they said, okay, we will put like a huge amount of our resources into organizing. So something like 50% of the union's budget went toward the organizing of J4J. Justice for Janitors started in the US, was organizing janitorial workers who are often affected by uncertain or temporary immigration status, how to confront this problem of an industry that is, you know, contracted out and where the work is temporary and part-time and, you know, hidden at night. So they worked out a strategy that was possible to organize workers, and it meant that there had to be a lot of public attention, a lot of exposure on the violations and abuses.
When I joined the university staff, it was an educational institution. But somewhere along the line, it became a company. Its model changed from education, in my view, to being run along business lines, very strict business lines. So they began contracting out services.
People know when you contract out, the only money to be saved is from the workers' wages.
They were constantly pushed at NASA, and they were building new buildings that would be entirely outsourced, would be entirely Be Clean workers only.
So there was a group of the Filipino workers who had come as temporary foreign workers with Be Clean. It was something like 50% were Punjabi workers as well. So most of them were older, you know, where their families had sponsored them, the grandparents. Then there was quite a lot of Somalis and other African immigrants. Most came as refugees. Part of the J4J approach is to do what they call alt research, which basically means dumpster diving. So I was successful in getting a list, and it was a full list of employees and their phone numbers. Then when it was time to go, other organizers joined so that we could do it quickly.
I ended up getting hired by SEIU as an interim organizer. And my dad was actually a member of the United Steelworkers of America. So it was already like sort of entrenched in me because I understood how unions work and the benefits and, you know, the pensions and all the good stuff that came with it. And so I thought, hey, yeah, anything we can do for, you know, any workers, let's do it.
So I had rented the top floor of Campus Towers, which is right across the street from the U of A. Put up garbage bags, taped up the windows or whatever so they couldn't see all our, you know, lists and things. SEIU had this sort of rubric for like engaging with people and then starting to assess their level of support and try to get other workers to be the leaders. They would get those people who were willing to speak out. They were fed off.
They talked to me after they have talked to my co-Filipino workers. They told me, Danilo has a proof and papers to show and to support.
One of the things with J4J is always to take a picture at the time of the card signing too. And so the photo petitions are almost like more important in some ways than the card signing.
She came into my place on my day off, Saturday, and she started showing me the pictures. Who did she talk to, and if I know those people. So that's where we started.
The really memorable ones, though, were Tariq. So we had a Somali-speaking organizer, Ayana. It was just this weird, you know, small world moment where they realized they knew each other.
Yeah, I remember that day. I was crying, saying, "Are you in?" Her mom name is Ardo. Are you Ardo's daughter? And she said, "Yeah." So it was really, really, really good.
And that house visit lasted, I think, 4 hours.
And I was talking like non-stop because I was full of like angry for what I was seeing in the workplaces. Yeah. A lot of places when I go to, they said, we don't accept it, you're closed. And I ended up to find a job for a cleaning job, which I wasn't in my mind when I was coming Canada to work.
They didn't speak a lot of English. A lot of them had already retired from their jobs in India. So it was like, now they're coming back into the workforce again, and the very first job they are doing is cleaning and a janitor job. And some of these people were, they were either doctors or they were, they had good, teachers and, other jobs. And all of a sudden here they are trying to supplement and help, their own family here.
Yeah, when you come this country and you don't speak the language, it's not easy. So there is no chance. They know, they take advantage. I was working night shift.
There's always, like, we would joke about the day shift was white.
We start from 6 p.m. We finish at 6:30 in the morning, and I get home around 7:30 or 7:45 in the morning. From 6 to 11, we go on a different building. 11 to 6:30. We go on another different building. We were told in the office that we're going to get paid for our overtime, but when we were on the site, the manager and the supervisor is saying different about pay. There's a difference. They said, oh, this is your extra hour. You get paid straight here, and when you go to your next building, you get paid straight as well. So
their health and safety meetings were somebody would at the beginning of their shift have a clipboard and say, sign here.
I say sign. So it means you take it. You sign, bring, that's it. Every day I tell them, you shouldn't do it, you can hurt yourself. Most they don't know their rights.
they said it's a training, but it's just they will give us the like pliers to read, especially for East Indian people. If they don't speak English, it's really hard for them. We deal with a lot of chemicals, and we don't have the proper, like we don't have the mask, we don't have the eye protections. And those chemicals are hazardous. Those chemicals can irritate our eyes. They just give us thin gloves. Once it tears up, then you have to replace it. It doesn't last long.
Myself, when I tear it, I come back and I said, I need gloves. And he said, I give it to you. I said, after this time, he said, 1 month. If you have a 1 month, you have to buy yourself. Gloves is very expensive.
We were asked, like, because that's a 15, sometimes a 14-foot, 15-foot ceiling. We were asked to replace the bulb. So what we did is, I have to grab the desk, and then on top of the desk, I have to put a chair. Then I stand up on the chair to replace the bulb, because we don't have a ladder. So one time that chair fell on my back. I told that to my supervisor. He just told me, sit, have a rest. There's no blood. It seems like you didn't get an injury.
Contracting out meant that you were going to be having a workforce that was in transit, was temporary, was not familiar with the services in the same kind of structure and way that it was performed. And those individuals would put themselves at risk as well, moving from one building far away from another building alone at nights.
Sometimes middle of the night, you're gonna hear something and you can say, oh my God, here is something, but nobody there. If you hear something, you're gonna be die.
I guess the conflict sort of started with a supervisor who actually wanted them to, the East Indian, elders actually, to sit on the floor, right? And with that, they felt insulted, right? Because other people had tables and chairs or whatever, but somewhere along the line, somebody must have mentioned her, well, in the Gurdwara, which is the Sikh temple, well, they sit on the floor anyways to eat. Well, no, that's a whole different thing, That's where it's about humility towards others, and we're all on an equal standing. But at work, no, that shouldn't be taking place, right? So.
And it was the first day of the Ramadan, and I tell her I'm fasting, and she said the break time is 8:15. You cannot take other time. I tell her I'm not gonna take in 15 minutes in 8:15 because I cannot eat. It's Ramadan, so I'm taking my 15 minutes 10 o'clock. She said no, and she left.
for any issue or concern, whether it was health and safety or anything. The reaction you would expect from a supervisor would be hostile.
There's some old folks working with us. That lady always yell on those East Indian people, and sometimes he have a stick. She hit them with the stick. And one time I asked her, and I said, "That's not right." And he said, "That's not your business." And I can't say no because I'm a foreign worker. If I say no, they might reduce my hours or they might fire me. As long as I am working, I have the money to have food for my table and to send money back home for my family.
One of the managers had threatened a group that, including Danilo, who was kind of advocating for their rights with deportation.
Workers on the site has no protection, and that's what we wanted. And that's where we started forming a union.
And they had already started to organize themselves by the time that we got involved. You know, sometimes we'd be waiting in parking lots and stuff at midnight as people were getting off work and talking to them there. But it was always a lot more, comfortable to talk to people if they were at home.
Especially with the Punjabi-speaking, workers whenever we went to their house, they always offered us tea and food, right? It was almost like, automatic. Even though we might have hit 3 other houses, within a 2-hour time frame or whatever, we were constantly drinking tea, A lot of the houses we went to, because of those multi-generational families, there was at least 1 or 2 people that were part of a union already. And they knew the benefits of it. So that was easily for them to, translate or say to their own parents, like, yeah, this is what I get at my job. I'm saying, hey, this is what, this union is trying to do. They're trying to get you those benefits or something better. It was almost like a family decision that was, yes, you know what? They're here to help you. Let's sign the card, right?
That moment when you convince a worker to sign a card and take a picture and, it's a cool feeling for sure.
There was moments where we would go to one house and they'd say, oh, well, so-and-so, because we go take the bus together, he lives right across the street. And so then we go to that house and all of a sudden you realize, oh, 4 doors down, so-and-so, Auntie lives over there. She works with us too. It sort of created like an avalanche where other people would, especially within the Punjabi group, one would phone the other person and say, well, this is my so-and-so friend, he works in this other building, I'll get him to sign too, and here's his phone number, go talk to him, right? So it did create like that snowball effect, which actually was quite effective.
When we started the union, 100% of the workers are interested in joining the union.
A good group of them actually were, either communist or socialists, or they did participate in a lot of strikes, right? So when we uttered the words union, right away they're like, oh, it brought back these memories, right? And it was continued, like literally a whole hour just talking about how they had to struggle themselves back home. And they did hunger strikes themselves. And that was one thing that I remember is do we have to go on a hunger strike as well at the University of Alberta? And I said, no, we're not there yet. I don't think we need to do that. But it seemed to me like some of them were prepared.
First, they work on the East Indian community. They said, this union will just get your money. If this union gets in, we will lose the contract with the UFA. You lost the job.
Be Clean's objective is profits. And so is the university as in its new business model. And so the attempts to pit worker against worker is what NASA was trying to fight, because we recognize that this was the objective of the employer, that they really had no interest in us having a united front.
So they intimidate the East Indian community. So the 90% of East Indian in the site back out.
It was that fear of, I'm supporting my family financially. What happens if I get fired, right? Where's the extra income going to come from? How am I going to help my children, right?
They send out all the supervisors, lead hands to look after us, to go after us. Like on my case, 2 managers and 2 supervisors, every night they come into my building, talk to me. If you really force, we heard that you guys wanted to have the union. If you really force it, we will report it to the head office and we will send you home.
And like second week, I got fired. He said, "Are you unionized, those people?" And I said, "No, I didn't unionize. They unionized themselves." And after my shift, he told me, "Put the key there and go home." And he showed in front of them all, scary them, so they know if they fire me, they can fire everyone.
And then Tariq, of course, ended up getting fired, and they picked the wrong person to pick on because she was so awesome.
For me, it was really good point. They fired me. I got a lot of time to go everywhere and every meeting because if you're at work, they make sure you don't have a chance to talk to people. But now I'm free. I'm outside. I can go anybody his home and do whatever I like it.
But when the management started intimidating, 80% back out. On the first day of intimidation, the second day of intimidation, 10% back up. So we ended up 3 Filipinos and 5 African, so 8. We have more than 115 or 120 workers at the location.
The trust is really important. If you don't speak the person's same language, but if they know you and they know you help, so they always come to me and said, "Tariq, we're sorry what happened to you, but what we can do it." I said, "Don't afraid. This is your right. We didn't do anything wrong. This is our right, and we have to be strong."
When it started the tabling at the Hub Mall, and the student, they said, they don't want to hear or see that the workers who clean their classrooms, their faculty, their offices, they don't want those abuse happen at the UFA. They sign up because we on the tabling, there's a petition.
We had a post-grad campaign to the president of the university, Samara Sekra, who was like making more than Obama at the time and stuff, calling on the university to do the right thing by the cleaning workers. A lot of people supported and signed, and faculty members were great as well.
When we actually started going to their house and actually explaining to them, look, nobody needs to know that you even signed a card, right? Other than us. So you're safe, especially when the key activists that were there were sort of like not only speaking to their own cultural group, but they were also then speaking amongst each other, right? And so it created a bigger multicultural group of understanding, hey, we're all being treated the same. We need to stand up.
We started to talk from the NASA. One of the people that helped us too is Rod Loyola, who is now a MLA of Edmonton Ellerslie. He was a NASA advisor on the year. So Rod Loyola came and meet us. And when he heard our stories, he was upset and he was really disappointed. He said, I can imagine that it's happening here at especially here at the U of A. And he said, this is something that we cannot tolerate. This is unacceptable.
That was part of the theory and the strategy of Justice for Janitors as well, was that you knew in janitorial you were going to find illegal practices. Like that was just an absolute given, So as long as you could get somebody to speak out and document it and, show you their paperwork or, collect a video testimony or whatever, then you would file a legal complaint, you would make a big deal about it in the public, and you would, start doing public actions and stuff like that.
I was harassed many times in a building. People that I don't know, people that doesn't work for BClean, walk into my building and threaten me. So 3 people that I've seen and approach me and harass me and intimidate me not to form a union. Back home, if you go against a big company, your family, your friends won't see you the next day. When the union figure out that the BClean is doing dirty tactics, so we need to do something that makes them back. So what we did is we called the media people and we put up a press conference and exposed them.
The idea was it was going to be early in the morning. When they get off shift, they would all come to that campus tower spot, and then we would do a press conference. It was like probably the most dramatic moment of the campaign for me because, you know, a lot of people were like, you know, committed to coming. People had already signed the card and taken the photos and stuff like that. But then, you know, at like 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning or whatever, we're getting lots of action and calls and like, oh, you know, people are scared, and supervisors going around threatening them and intimidating them and telling them they were all going to be fired if they go to the meeting and stuff. And so we were like frantically trying to, you know, go around and reassure people. And I remember being with Tariq and another Somali worker in my little car at the campus Saint-Jean. Like I had to pick them up because they couldn't just walk to the meeting. So, but there were 2 older Punjabi ladies who were like, "No, we're scared. We're not coming." And we, you know, but Tariq's like yelling at them, "Just get in the car. You know, it'll be fine. Don't worry." And
many are new to Canada. Some don't speak English, but each of these employees has one thing in common. They say their employer isn't treating them fairly. On October 1st, 5 workers came forward with allegations they weren't being paid overtime or were being threatened with deportation for complaining.
Because I remember there was a younger youth member who he actually came out to one of the news media things that we did, and he actually helped translate his questions. You know, that was sort of one of those moments where when the media hit that within the cultural communities, I think that created a stir. It created a good stir because it was like, what's really going on? How are these, you know, workers actually being treated? And these are not just workers, they're elders in the community. They're respected people from, you know, their families, their community, and all of a sudden here they are working jobs where they're not being treated well.
After we have the press conference, the University of Alberta, the students, everything, they study with us.
So it's just a scary experience, but after I've seen the support from the community, from politicians and the media, who really played big roles on exposing the irregularities at the work site. So it's been so effective. It's so effective that the BClean didn't say any comment. The BClean kept quiet for weeks, then apologized in radio, saying it was a misunderstanding.
The company agreed to voluntarily recognize the union. SEIU, local 2, it's a plucky little local, whatever. And sometimes that means you just try crazy things and, you know, learn from them and whatever. But it was so successful, which was kind of almost weird because you look at, we followed the like campaign strategy of, you know, Justice for Janitors, and it actually worked. Like, and it worked in a timely way.
If I see something, I speak. I fight for people's rights.
You know, and when I run into Tariq still, you know, I go to see her at the Kuto Cooperative to get food there sometimes.
I organize women's, and we have some women who have cooperative staff.
Danilo, you know, I think found Migrante as a home.
Migrante is an advocacy group that help migrants. It's not just help migrants, also protect the migrants.
It changes people to be part of an organizing campaign, and that's pretty meaningful and pretty privileged to be a part of. And you know, if you get, you know, some extra money and benefits and protections along the way, that's good. But really that sense of empowerment.
I know that I had a community, I had a family like Migrante.
From Somali community, it's like helping each other. We share everything, and share we're supposed to be to share. It makes other person life different.
That sense that you're side by side with people who know whose side they're on, you know, and you wouldn't give that up for anything.